Hey there, everybody. Give everybody a couple minutes for some people to join the show. So glad it's Friday. Thrilled about this right now. This whole weekend thing we're doing here. All right. I think we're in pretty good shape right now. I think everybody can hear me pretty good. There we go. All right. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to get down to it. Welcome to Way of the Dad Live, Stripe Stream number 1. That is the best name I could come up with. Came up with some other names. Didn't really like them very much. I think Jungle Jam seemed a little goofy, and some of the others seemed a little too plain. Stripe Stream is not exactly the best thing, maybe. So maybe the name will evolve. But for right now, we'll go with Stripe Stream. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Hold on. Oh, that's better. Gotta love that meme. Joe and Harambe, legends. Alrighty. So, I guess we'll do some quick channel housekeeping out of the way before I get into the meat of this. Don't know how long it's going to take. I do have an outline. Plan to try to hit my points. But obviously, if anybody joins in, if you got some comments, you want to talk about something, you want me to address something, I'll try to do that. There might be certain times where I'll take a break. If there's any comments, I'll address them. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving on. And then, of course, at the end, once I've gotten through what I want to go through, if there's something, if there's a comment worth going after, if there's a direct question or something like that, I'll definitely try to address that. So let's move that just a little farther away. There we go. Sound like I'm breathing in my own ear. So did a live stream just a couple days ago on the movie Prey, which is a Predator prequel, whatever you want to call it, and noticed some issues with the audio upon playback. I think I've got that worked out now, and just some, like, it was an intermittent echo, just come up every once in a blue moon and then be there for about 30 seconds and go away. Apparently, I had didn't realize it. I think was picking up some of the other audio from like the laptop microphone or the webcam microphone. Not sure which. But I think I got those all sorted out now. Hopefully I sound a little better too. I played with some settings on the audio. That should sort that out. So, other things, trying to go more video oriented. I will still, at least for the rest of this year, I gotta make a decision at the end of the year about continuing to do audio podcasting. I'm not against it, but I'll be honest, it's not free, and I've got to be able to make a justification for that. So we'll see about that. But I do still plan for at least the rest of the year to try to rip the audio off these videos, these live streams and videos that I record, and then I'll push them over to audio only podcasting after that. So, let's see. I think I covered that. So obviously, I'd appreciate any likes, shares, and obviously, if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Speaking of which, gonna try to ring the bell here, and there we go with that. All right. Okay. All right. So, um, what is it doing? Hmm. That is strange. Oh, there it is. There we go. It's got to ring the bell a little bit. Anyway, so obviously with these live streams, I'm hoping to use this to grow the channel a little better. I feel like I'm probably might be able to get better traction this way, and obviously I want to create a bit of a community. These live streams are nice for kind of being able to interact on the fly in a more dynamic way, as opposed to me posting a podcast episode and then eventually maybe hearing a comment or two, something like that. But obviously, a lot of things still stay the same. If you do want to email me, wayofthedadpodcast@gmail.com. Obviously, you can reach out to me through the YouTube channel and through the Facebook page. I am on Instagram too, although I admit I'm not very good using Instagram as far as remembering to do so. Um, so I do have that. I'm trying to trying to do a little bit better with that, but Instagram's that one thing. It's like I kind of forget that I have that too. Um, but while we're in the live streams, leave a comment, and if there's something there, I'll try to address it. So, um, let's go over. Let's start from Well, the beginning, uh, uh, which was unfortunately the end of the last season, you know, heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl. Although I have to say, there was times I was kind of pinching myself. It's like, oh my God, I can't. We're here. I vaguely remember um, being a little kid, and the Bengals were in the Super Bowl with Boomer Esiason and that amazing offense and everything else. And I didn't I didn't appreciate uh, how unique that was then. All I knew was like, Bengals are awesome. Got it. Like, done. So, before we go too far, cheers. Got a little tequila in tonight. Can't remember the brand. It's a good one though. It's not bad. It's pretty smooth. But so that's like, I barely remember that. Other than the fact that I know that it happened. I know I was present for something. Some of it somehow, some way. I don't remember sitting down and watching the game or anything like that. I came to football in a much more significant way later. I knew I liked the Bengals. I knew I liked the Reds. And of course, 88, 88 season, that was a great season for the Bengals. And then the 90 wire to wire World Series for the Reds was, I mean, that was a phenomenal team. And of course, in my mind, wow, these are two amazing teams. There's just nothing but just just winning and and amazing players and Hall of Famers. Just nothing but upward trajectory from here, right? Yeah, something like that. It didn't quite go that way. So, um, it was painful being in watching that, but at the same time, there was also a part of me that was just like, I'm pinching myself that we're even in this game. We're in the Super Bowl. Like, I don't remember hearing Bengals in Super Bowl unless we were talking about the distant past. That's the only time we ever talk about that. So I do. I'm still. I still love last season and what it represented, what it meant. Um, I don't love the very last couple of minutes of regulation, but I'm not going to let that ruin how I felt about that season. That season was magical. It was constant disbelief. Pinch me, is this real type stuff. And of course, it's, the game ends and it goes from excitement to absolute silence for at least a little while, especially as you're watching and you're like, oh crap, where's the flag? There's got to be a flag coming in to overturn this, right? There's got to be a flag to give us one more chance. But I will say I got over it faster than I thought. I was worried going into the game, how am I gonna handle this losing? I used to be during the Palmer years. I used to be. I mean, if we lost, it was. I mean, you might as well just not even bother talking to me the entire day. I was beside myself. I was a big baby. I was. I mean, I was just a gigantic whiny child. Um, I don't do that anymore. You could say that. You could say the Marvin and Dalton years, kind of, especially the later ones, not the good ones, or at least the ones that had hope and excitement in them, but the later ones, they kind of numbed me to that maybe, or kind of taught me how to just take the winning and take the losing and don't get too high, don't get too low. Enjoy it when it's good, and when it's bad, maybe try to look at it and see, hope for, try to look and see like, okay, what do I think they're going to try to fix? Of course, with Marvin, it was ain't gonna fix much. We're just gonna keep doing the same thing over and over because Marvin was kind of the same coach from very early to right near the end. I think he was bad at clock management in the beginning. He was bad at the end. But all that being said, I've got nothing against Marvin. I actually have a lot of appreciation and a lot of respect for Marvin. He took this team from the absolute dumpster. We joke about Cleveland being, oh, they're the Browns, they're terrible. We joke about the Jets. Who else is pretty atrocious right now? Well, the Lions. Okay, there's an easy one right there. We can point and laugh at the Lions, but we couldn't always point and laugh at the Lions. We were just as bad, and there is the reason why they call the '90s the lost decade. So I have nothing but respect for Marvin because as much as the change didn't come as much and as fast and as significantly as we wanted, Marvin did bring change to this organization. He did pull it out of the 1970s, at least to some degree or another. Was it enough? No, it wasn't. But what he did do that was good, what the legacy he did leave that was good, and it's not the stuff on the field, I think it's more the stuff behind the scenes. I feel like that has led to where we're at now, because if it wasn't for that, I don't know if we'd have Zach Taylor. I don't know if we'd have this very young, youthful, dynamic and progressive approach that we have seen in 3 years. What we couldn't get, but maybe just a small percentage of in 16 with Marvin. So, not to mention, I think it's in no small part due to the Blackburns, Katie and Elizabeth, and then Troy, taking a larger day-to-day role in the operations. We have Duke Tobin. They have slowly started to build the scouting staff, things like that. But I don't know if Zach Taylor would be able to do what he's done without some of the things, some of the maybe more subtle things that Marvin was able to get done. So anyway, free agency is for as short as the offseason was. I mean, the actual true offseason between the end of the Super Bowl and the beginning of the free agency. I mean, it felt like an eternity. And it was the shortest one I remember in my lifetime, really, at least as far as being someone who actually pays attention to that. But man, as much as we give the Bengals grief, and I thought, I mean, I'll be honest with you. My initial thought, and I've said this before in some of my previous podcasts on this, I really felt like, they'll do something in free agency. It seems so obvious that they're going to address the O-line. There's no way they don't address it. And that's just all there was to it. But at the same time, I thought, well, they're going to let that first wave of free agency just pass it by, let it ride it out, and then look for not the players who are commanding the biggest dollars possible, but the ones who are more worth the actual money that they're going to cost. The value proposition is correct. The balance between the cost and what you're going to get in return. So, I was extraordinarily pleasantly surprised when, like, I think I said something like, what, a minute and a half after legal tampering period begins, and they've got deals, they've got agreements made with Ted Karras, Alex Kappa. I mean, just boom, right out the gate. I mean, we got a legit center who could also be a guard if we wanted him to be, if we got better center, or I don't know, someone they liked better as a center. But we've got a guy who can play one of two positions that we absolutely need, because we need basically everything but left tackle. Going into this offseason, remember this. We needed everything but left tackle. And we're talking about 4 out of 5. And I know the thought was, well, one of these guys we drafted, whether it be Trey Hill or Jackson Carman or Deontay Smith, maybe, they'll do something. One of them will pan out. Well, that's still 3. Best case scenario, that's still 3 we need. So, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. And they go right out and they nail center and right guard right out of the gate. And it's like, whoa. I mean, I don't remember the Bengals doing anything day one. Ever. Even in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, they've actually been much more active in free agency. I mean, a lot of our defense, Trey Hendrickson, Von Bell, Mike Hilton, Chidobe, Awuzie, Eli Apple, I know, gets a lot of hate. A lot of people hate Eli Apple. But they were active. And remember last year, Apple wasn't supposed to be the starter. He ended up having to be the starter. So, that's good stuff. So anyway, boom, right out the gate. I mean, just 2 big bombs dropped right there. 2 big signings. I mean, and they're direct. They're right at the problem. It's like they decided, all right, we're going to stop screwing around. We tried doing it, a different way last year. Riley Reef was okay, but then he got hurt, and we were screwed after that. We have no depth behind, our starters, and some of our starters aren't even that good. And they decided to go right after the problem. I respect that. Then we had the one that really, and then I should say this. And then we also got word that they signed B.J. Hill up to a long-term, I think it was a 3-year contract. And so I was happy to see that. I think that's really great. I think B.J. Hill deserved it. He played his way into that contract. He performed. And it sucked losing Ogunjobi, but Ogunjobi was one of those, and this is from what I hear from people who, quite frankly, can probably see this stuff a little better than I can. I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh my gosh, I watch linemen all day. No, I'm not. Sorry. But Ogunjobi was one of those who had a big reputation for either making an amazing play or kind of disappearing for a little while. Not to say he's a bad player at all. He's not at all a bad player. But B.J. Hill was considered to be more consistent. Maybe not quite the ceiling, but his lows were a lot higher. He wouldn't take off plays. He had a high motor, that grinder, that gritty type, whatever. So, and then we got word that C.J. Uzomah left, went to the Jets. And that was hard. Didn't enjoy that news. And that was a bit disappointing. C.J. Uzomah's very well liked here. And I understand at the end of the day, he's got to make his decisions. And if it came down to an amount of money, fine. If it really came down to he thought that Zach Wilson's the truth up there in New York and somehow this was just some flash in the pan, which he has never said that at all. The only thing he's been guilty of doing is basically just, pumping up, comments for his team. He's never said anything bad about the Bengals, never said anything bad about his time here. He's been on that what is that show? Bussin' with the Boys. So, you know, I still think he's a stand-up dude, but I think he knows he's probably only going to get one more contract, and it was probably this one. So, take a moment of silence here for Amazon Air. Anyway, and then they address that problem. CJ left. Okay, let's go get Hayden Hurst, who, I'll be honest with you, um, Uzama was probably a little bit better all around, but Hurst is far better in his pass catching ability and his pass catching style, his routes, things like that. Not as good on the blocking side. But overall, I think they got an upgrade for at least what they want. And he's here on a prove it deal, 1 year. I think it's 3 or 4 million. It's not that, quite frankly, not that much. But I think he's planning on playing himself into a legit contract. It's weird. His history is he gets drafted like he's the man, and then someone else ends up being the man, and he gets relegated to a backup role. Then he goes, that was at the Ravens, and then he goes down to the Falcons. He gets 1 year. He gets to be kind of the man and actually has pretty good numbers, 600 some odd yards. I don't know how many touchdowns, but enough. I mean, does pretty good for his first year in the system with the first year with that, system, that quarterback, that organization. And then they go draft Kyle Pitts, and well, then that's, Kyle Pitts is when all Kyle Pitts. So I think he's looking forward to the chance to be the featured tight end here in a potentially prolific offense, especially considering nobody's going to fall asleep on Jamar Chase anymore, and probably not going to fall asleep on T. Higgins either. They'd much rather try to stop Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and Hayden Hurst, which, no offense, but good luck. Just like Joe said, good luck. So, I mean, and it was like a rapid fire, like, Uzama leaves. Okay. They didn't spend a lot of time. Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Oh, we lost somebody. And they're like, okay, wish you well. Good luck up there. All right, let's go get somebody. Boom. Find someone that fits and don't break the bank. Great. And it continues to give us, they could have still drafted tight end if they really wanted to in the first round. Gave them the flexibility to still draft the future because they only got this guy on a 1 year deal. Now, if he plays amazing, he's still young. Maybe we give him the deal. Maybe he gets a deal from us next year. Who knows? So, and then the other big movement of the offseason, huge movement. We got Lael Collins. And, I mean, the hype around that was crazy. The constant posts about where's he at? Oh, he's up at Kenwood Mall. Now he's over here. He's getting ice cream over here. Oh, I think he's doing his laundry over here at this laundromat. It was stupid crazy. But, and then, Joe Burrow invites him over to his house. Apparently wines and dines him with like cupcakes and probably like juice boxes or whatever. I don't know. Joe Burrow is just, he's got like a cool factor I don't get. Well, man, he's got it. But apparently got Lael over there and all the other new linemen. And I think Hurst was over there too, maybe. I'm not sure. And just really put the screws to him, telling him why he needs to be here, why this is the place. And Collins signed. And quite frankly, for a pretty reasonable deal. I think it's a pretty incentive-laden deal, I guess is what I'm getting at. Kind of a bit of a prove it deal. So they went out, they attacked the problem. Direct. Which left them very, very free when the draft came. They could draft with a free hand, as opposed to drafting out of desperation or some kind of a perceived sense of extreme need. And what did they do? Well, they mostly drafted defense. Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, Zachary Carter, Tyson Anderson, Jeff Gunter. The only person they drafted that was offense, Cordell Volson. Left guard out of North Dakota State, I think. That was interesting. Also an extremely good and savvy move, as it turns out. But they drafted 2 safeties. They drafted a cornerback. They drafted Gunter's an edge, and I think Carter, if I remember correctly, Carter's a tackle. I think he's a D tackle. I can't remember 100% right now. There's too many new names, and I'm getting mixed up sometimes. But that was a huge, and they traded up to get Tyson Anderson too. So they saw something in him, because I think what they're doing, everybody says, oh, well, this shows that they're planning on letting Bates go, which they might be. And sure looks like they might be. Considering they didn't sign him to a long-term deal. He finally had to come in, sign his tender, his franchise tag tender. And but I think they're also planning for eventually Von Bell's gonna probably age out or whatever as well, or he's going to be too expensive to keep. They're going to probably continue to draft cornerback and safety. Not to mention Anarumo likes having the ability for massive flexibility back there. So that's what they did. We get into OTA's training camp, and I understand why they decided to go ahead and give Carmen the job. Thank you, Amazon Air. Thank you for coming back. Appreciate the visit. Can't wait till I get this studio insulated. I don't know if it'll knock out all the noise, but it sure might knock it down some. Until then, this live stream and this channel is definitely not officially brought to you by Amazon Air. So Carmen basically gets the job, and I kind of understand why. Seniority, he's a second-round pick. He's supposed to get that job. And I think they thought, well, let's just make sure he knows that it's his to lose. And I don't know why. I don't know if I don't know if he's too big to play guard. Because he played tackle in college. And, I mean, switching from tackle to guard is not exactly like you don't just, I just move over a couple feet and I just do the same thing, but here. You don't do that. It's a different approach. How you have to play one position is not the same way as you play the other. And so I don't know why. I actually thought I was one of those who thought he was going to do better at left guard than he did at right guard, because he was on the left side of the line. He played left tackle and in college. So I thought he would do better on the left side. Maybe his reason why he wasn't very good on the right was just because it's just not the side he played, so he's trying to learn basically how to be, if you're a left-handed person, you're trying to learn how to be right-handed, or you're right-handed trying to learn how to be left-handed. You don't just flip sides and everybody can do that. Some people can, not everybody. And Volson takes the job. Volson shows that he is aggressive, He's a grinder. He is, as Frank Pollock loves to say, a glass eater. Great. I am down with that. I am absolutely down with that. And look, would I have loved to see Carmen come in and absolutely just crush the job? Yes. But he didn't. Volson did. So believe me, I'm thrilled that Volson, I'm thrilled that the better player is the one getting the start. Something I kind of sometimes would gripe about under the Marvin years is sometimes the better player would not be starting. You know, I don't know, something he had against starting rookies straight up, unless they were, like Dalton and Green. There were other times where it was like, man, why don't we just let this guy try? Like, is he look that bad in practice or something? Because this guy out here looks pretty damn bad. So I love that Volson came in, small school, 4th-round pick, not as high a draft stature. And they were like, hey, we don't care. This guy's playing better. He is just plainly, factually better. Done. End of story. I also like that during the OTAs there was a pretty high attendance from the members of the team. They are voluntary, and so I really like that. Another little thing, couple little more things on OTAs and training camp overall. Jesse Bates, that's kind of a thing that's been looming over the whole season. And, it kind of sucks. I don't want to see Jesse Bates go. But everything we've heard, he wants like top 3 safety money. And then, of course, a couple other teams just back up an absolute Brinks truck to their safeties and make these insane deals with all kinds of guaranteed money. And I don't want to say there's gamesmanship, but I'm going to say that at least with a couple teams, didn't hurt their feelings that they did it as well. Specifically the Ravens. But, at the same time, I like Jesse Bates. He's not a top 3 safety. He's a really, really good safety. I'd say he's probably top 6 or 7 in the league. That's still really good. But his demand for money is pretty ridiculous, and considering the Bengals are smart enough to know, they've got some serious bills coming up. They're trying to be, I'll give them credit, I'll give them some respect, they're trying to be financially responsible. They've got a large payday for Joe coming. They've got a large payday for T. Higgins coming. They got a large payday for Jamar Chase coming. I don't know when Tyler Boyd's contract is up, but what if he's still productive and he wants to say? I'm not saying he's going to command top money, but he's going to command money. You know who else is going to command money? Some guy named Evan McPherson. I know it's a kicker, but believe me, they're going to pay him, get him locked down, and we're not going to talk about him going anywhere for a while. They like, especially the Bengals, they love consistency in their special teams. So, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I could be wrong next offseason, but I think Jesse Bates is going to go and try to get his money on another team. And it sucks, but that's also the business of the NFL. There's only so much money to go around, and I know that they're going to want to get Joe Burrow paid up as soon as humanly possible, because his price tag is only going to go up. These quarterback deals are crazy, and we can all blame the Browns and their dumbass owner for what they did with Deshaun Watson for creating some of this stupidity, because they didn't just up the ante just a little bit. They they blasted through the ceiling. 5 years and $250 million for a guy who ain't going to play most of the first season. Are you stupid? Absolutely stupid. And I know they prorated. They set it up so that he would lose almost no money in the first year, even though he ended up losing more than what he was going to get in the first year, but whatever. And then there was when I heard that they were doing a joint practice with the Rams before the last preseason game. Um, I'm not saying I'm not saying I imagined perfectly Aaron Donald wielding two Bengals helmets like he's Jon Snow against the coming onslaught, which is a great meme, by the way. That was a hilarious meme. But I thought it would not go well because McVay and Taylor might be friends, but the rest of their teams ain't friends. There's gonna be some saltiness in there. There's gonna be some hard feelings and some still somewhat fresh wounds. So let's do this real quick. I'm gonna pause again for Amazon Air. I hate this. Okay. All right. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. So, um, I'm gonna get into something now, and this is gonna be a. Obviously, I'm gonna cut this into a. It's an individual video later, but I want to talk about something. So there's another big thing revolving around training camp, but this is going to take me down a bit of a side quest here, if I'm going to use a gaming term. Um, so I there's someone that um I think gets overlooked on this team. I honestly think it's borderline insulting. Uh, I don't know why this player gets overlooked. I don't know why. Um, he's so undervalued. He doesn't get talked about, and yet I mean, he's a big part of what makes this team great. And I mean, it's not, and it's the national media just does not. They just overlook him. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. His name is let's see what I got here. How do I pronounce this? Pronounce this Joseph Burrow. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of that guy. Now I'm being a little funny, but I'm also being a little serious too. Um, so Burrow gets appendicitis, and apparently had to have an emergency appendectomy, which is more serious than what we thought in the beginning. But like honestly, especially with my background in healthcare, when they announced that, like, I mean, it came out of nowhere. Like, oh, Joe Burrow is having an appendectomy. We'll find out more, or we'll let you know more when we find out. And I'm like, that doesn't sound planned. And no offense, but if they knew about it, they would have done it earlier. I mean, at the time I was thinking there's a possibility they're just like, hey, look, this is bad. It's starting to get bad. Let's go get it right now. And then when I saw him, what was it, like 3, 4, 5 days after the surgery? Nobody had seen him the entire time. And like 5 days after the surgery, he's out there. He's sitting on a golf cart, and he's got this netting sleeve over his arm. And I knew exactly what that was. That's to protect the IV line they have in, and that means he's getting IVs, and that means antibiotics. And my first thought was like, oh, this wasn't planned at all. This was shit. We got to get it out right now. Which it was. It was an emergency appendectomy. So, and I say that because for those who don't know, if you're unaware, an emergency appendectomy, while it is something that happens and is common enough in the sense that it's not out of the norm, do not let yourself think for even a second that that is nothing, that that's not a big deal. No, that's fatal, potentially. If they didn't get it out there fast enough, which means they had to go in rougher than they would have liked to have. That's what that means. That means the surgery was more invasive than they would normally. It's not laparoscopic. They had to just knock him out, put him on a table, knock him out, cut, go in, get that puppy out, because it can be quite fatal. So, now at the same time, thankfully, I guess, I mean, first of all, thankfully they found it. Thankfully they caught it. Second of all, thankfully it happened early enough that Joe was able to get back into shape, get back and ready to go day one, game one here this Sunday. So, whoever's looking out for him, thank you. Appreciate that very much. I only had a mild heart attack when I heard that. So, man, that tequila's good. So getting into where my tangent's going, why? Well, let's talk about this real quick. If you don't know already, Burrow was just recently on the Pat McAfee show. I think, well, today's Friday, so it was, I think it was yesterday, Thursday, Wednesday, something like that. And I really like the Pat, like, so I don't watch all the sports channels. I don't do that anymore. I used to be an absolute fiend, and I'd watch virtually everything. And then I realized might as well just shovel turds right into my brain. There's a lot of talking heads that I don't like. Let's start with Nick Wright. I mean, he's an absolute Chiefs homer. And that can be adorable, except for when you sound insane and stupid, and you can't even be honest about your own team. And so that's like, let's get into this. That's one thing I'll promise here. I'm not saying I'm going to go be some big time sportscaster or local legend here or anything like that. But on here, yes, I wear this Bengals cap. Yes, I've got my shirt. Yes, I've got my jerseys. Yes, I've got my fandom. But if I was doing this in, let's go 2017 or 2018, you'd hear me ragging pretty hard on the pathetic performance that I just saw the previous Sunday. God knows we didn't play on Mondays very often with Dalton and Lewis. Okay? But I really enjoyed his his interview on McAfee. I mean, there's a few things I took away. He's talking about how the thing he hated about this really nasty hit he took against from the Eagles was that he had to take off one play. And McAfee's like losing his mind back there. He's like, "What are you talking about, dude? You're crazy." And that's a football player. And I mean, McAfee was, I mean, everybody knows he was a punter, but he was like one of the more physical punters I've ever seen. I mean, he would lay dudes out for trying to return, you know, punts in his direction. I mean, he was super physical. Um, I mean, he's as manly and gritty as a punter gets. Um, and Burrow's just talking about he hated the fact he had to take one play off to get his wind back. He talks about how he was raised old school football, and football's about hitting and getting hit. And McAfee and his crew are talking about like, hey man, you got hit plenty. You don't need to get hit no more. Just stay behind your line and maybe don't take those high risk plays. And he's like, no, it's what I do. I for one hope he doesn't get hit anywhere near. I like half or less. Let's go with half or less. Let's go with like 35 sacks or less all year. I'd like it to be about maybe 15, 20, right? And then something he said, which it seems obvious, but I don't know how many quarterbacks actually do this. He was talking about he's ready to do whatever the game requires of him. And I think I heard him say it a different way in another interview where he talked about, I'll be whatever whatever Joe Burrow I need to be to win this game, I'll do that. If it's throw for, 400 yards and 6 touchdowns, I'll do that. If it's throw for 150, protect the ball, don't turn it over, and just keep handing it to Mixon, then I'll do that. And I think that's really amazing. That's a huge, huge comment. I think it's something that can get overlooked because I think you get a lot of QBs right now. This newer, younger generation, it's about stats, it's about the brand, it's about being a superstar and a celebrity and all this other stuff. And that comes with the position. But it's weird. You see some quarterbacks and it's almost like they try to put that first. Like that is the most important thing, is make sure I get my aerial, my passing stats, maybe get a few running touchdowns, maybe get a couple good shows on the highlight reel. And then, we should be winning games. And then, I got to build my brand. I got to make sure my clothes are on point, blah, 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 blah. And it's weird because Burrow does some of these things. But with him, I get the distinct impression none of that comes first. That's all just extra. His game day attire, extra. His brand, JB9 or whatever the hell it's going to be, extra. At the end of the day, he is all about who are we playing, how are they going to play us, how best do we attack that or defend against that and attack it, and what do I need to do that? If that means I need to have a terrible fantasy stat day, done. Fine. Sign me up. What do you want me to do? You just want me to hand it off to Joe all day? Got it. Mixon's going to get the ball. I'm just going to get the hell out the way. If it's I got to pass it to Tyler Boyd and Hayden Hurst and get short shots all day, fine. 1,000 cuts. Let's do it. If it's big bombs to Chase and Higgins, fine. Let's do that. That is awesome. Now, I've watched him play, and that's who I see. But for him to say it just confirms the kind of guy I thought he was. Because it seems like, especially in the second half of the season, I felt like they were definitely kind of doing this, we're going to be whatever we need to be to beat this team. If it's going to be a running day, it's going to be a running day. If it's going to be a long bomb day, if it's going to be a short pass day, whatever it's going to be, that's what we're going to do. So, and then I like he mentioned, he credits the Blackburns when they were talking about Pat McAfee show loves to rag on the Bengals and playfully. Let's be honest, it's not. I don't think it's mean spirited. Um, but playfully rib them for not having an indoor practice facility, which they're now going to get it. And, they kind of tried to get Joe to say something a little bit. And Joe just, I mean, dude, just like a boss, he just walks right around that comment and then just praises uh, the uh, the the ownership and the Blackburn specifically, and with kind of making moving the franchise forward. The production values on game day are huge, higher than they have ever been. And I did love one other comment before I get to my point here. He said something about, like, they talked to him about, do you ever trash talk? And he says, no. He says, I don't usually start it, but when somebody starts trash talk, I'll try to finish it. And I love that comment. That comment was phenomenal. I love that. Yep. Finish it. Shut them up. I love that. So, why is it that Burrow keeps getting overlooked? And this is mostly by national media because, I mean, let's be honest. Um, I saw a meme and I wish I had it. I didn't have it, and I really want to. I really want to put it up here. Um, and it was like, basically it was two Jehovah's Witnesses, and they had the text bubble, and it says, "Do you have time to talk about Joe Burrow?" Because that's how we all are in this city right now. I, I I remember the Palmer years, and Palmer was really good, but Palmer, personality wise, was, I mean, beige paint drying on a wall. He gets up there at a podium, and I mean, he's just, there's no juice in that man. I mean, everybody can be mad as they want about how he left and everything. I'll be honest, at the time, I felt about the same as Palmer did. I mean, I'm obviously not, but I was so fed up with the clown show, the reclamation projects of problem children from other teams that ended up just causing problems, or the fact that they didn't bother to do their damn research or homework on any of the players that they drafted, or the players they draft, and then they become gigantic problem children. And I'm not okay with what he did, but I would be an absolute hypocrite if I sat here and said I can't understand why he did what he did. Now, him going out there on Super Bowl row and kind of bashing the Bengals, at least moderately, getting his little stings in, a little ribs in, a little stick it right in the ribs there. That's kind of a dick move, dude. You had a chance with the Cardinals. If you wanted to, you should have won that damn Super Bowl, man. Or you should have got to that Super Bowl, I should say. But why does Burrow keep getting overlooked? Um, I think the first thing is these national commentators, these talking heads, their job is to talk about football. That's what we all know. They're probably number one on their job title descriptions, talk football. That's great. But it's not just talk football. I think some of them are also, I would say the younger ones, they also feel like their job is to say outrageous stuff. You can be a little outrageous and, we call it a hot take or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, sometimes you can say outrageous stuff and just sound like a total dumbass. I mean, you've got Nick right here sitting here talking about how, like, basically the Chiefs and everybody else are chumps. Like, dude, are you out of your mind? The Chiefs are a really good team. Do not get it twisted with me. But they are not unbeatable. They are not I don't know. They're not the Bulls. They're not Tiger Woods in his prime. They're not unbeatable. Get over yourself. This is football. At the highest level, any good team can lose if they start drinking a little too much of their own Kool-Aid, maybe don't prep as hard, maybe party a little too hard, whatever it is. The difference between the best team and the worst team in the league is like about, I don't know, that much. It's not that big a difference. That's why you can have teams that went 2-14, or well, yeah, 2-14. Yeah, that's right. It's 17 games now. 2-14 and go, you know, 11-5, or I guess it'd be 11-6 now after one draft and one offseason. So, I mean, the Chiefs are a good team. Patrick Mahomes is a really good quarterback. Andy Reid is a great coach. But some of these commentators, I think there's another thing that causes them to overlook Burrow. Now, there's a few of them that know what Burrow is, and I think they don't talk about him. They try not to talk about him too much because they don't want to get into over talking him. And right now, Cincinnati's a small market. We don't have a history of being great or amazing. We don't have a history of having amazing quarterbacks just one after another. We don't have that history. So we don't get that kind of talk. But I think it's also because a lot of these commentators they love flash and sizzle. Because there's some times that they are just slobbering over some of these quarterbacks, and I'm just thinking, like, what are you smoking? I mean, they're sitting here talking about Kyler Murray like he's done something. And they're just falling all over themselves to talk about how amazing Kyler Murray is. Oh my gosh, Kyler Murray, he's so amazing. What's he done? I'm not saying he's bad. He's not bad. But they're talking about him like he's Tom Brady reincarnate. He hasn't done anything yet. Why don't we wait until he does something first? And then that goes into another one. Lamar Jackson. Look, Lamar Jackson's he's been pretty awesome for the Ravens. I haven't always enjoyed Ravens week because of him. Been quite a few times I really didn't enjoy Ravens weeks because of him. But is he some kind of like transformational quarterback? No. He's primarily a running quarterback who has gotten better at throwing, but I don't know anybody calls him elite at throwing. Is he a bad quarterback? No. Was there a time when I wanted the Bengals to draft him coming out? Absolutely, because, well, we had Andy Dalton, so what do you want me to say? I wanted quote unquote different. And whatever fits into that word, that's what I wanted at that time. I was done with Andy Dalton. Nothing against him. He's a super nice guy. He is I mean, upstanding guy, great for the community and everything. And you know, he wasn't a bad quarterback during his time, but he wasn't great either. He had a floor and a ceiling. And his floor most of the time wasn't extremely low. He wasn't extremely terrible. But he also wasn't really good either. He was just fine. Andy Dalton was fine. He was a good to sometimes above average quarterback, depending on who was around him and how things were going. But he was not the kind of guy who was going to put this team on his back and will them to wins. That's just not what he was. So was there a time when Lamar Jackson was coming out from Louisville and I'm like, yeah, let's draft him. He's there. It's at the end of the first round. Oh my God, let's draft him. And they didn't. That's okay. Am I happier now that we don't have him? Oh yeah, come on. We got Joe Burrow. I'm far more happy about having Joe Burrow. But Lamar is a lot of flash and sizzle. That doesn't mean he can't win games. That doesn't mean that he can't even, potentially win a Super Bowl with the Ravens. Of course, I don't know how that's going to go because there's a lot of trouble in paradise over there in Baltimore because apparently he gave them a deadline to give him a legit contract offer and they did not, at least in his mind, they did not. And so now we're going to get into this now we're going to get into this thing where you've got what is it going to be? We're going to be franchise tagging, and he's going to be holding out or something. So anyway, but a lot of these commentators, they love flash and sizzle. That's why they just fell all over themselves about Cam Newton. And then they also get really infatuated with the guy who has a cannon. Oh my God, how many times have I heard that? You've got Josh Allen in Buffalo, and then you've got Justin Herbert in San Diego. Or what? I'm sorry. Wow, that's old. Los Angeles Chargers, formerly of San Diego. And they get so infatuated with this guy with a cannon, guy with a cannon, guy with a cannon. Now, admittedly, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert have legitimate other qualities. They don't just have a big arm. I mean, the most prototypical big arm quarterback that everybody kind of fell all over was Jamarcus Russell, and he was an absolute bust because he didn't want to study. He didn't study anything. He was terrible. Oh, he could throw at 75 yards. Who gives a shit if nobody's down there and you don't know what play you're running? So, but they get so infatuated with all of this flash and sizzle. And look at Joe Burrow. Now, if you look beyond the surface, there is so much there. But on the surface, does he have a lot of flash? Does he have the biggest arm? No. Is he most athletic? No. Not. He's not bad at any of those things. He's got a pretty good arm. He's got kind of sneaky athleticism, I mean, he's shifty. He can make people miss. He can go get that important first down, which is one of the things I will say that Andy Dalton was always really good at. He knew when he could make a scramble and go get a first down, and he would just do it. Joe Burrow, I think, is probably a little better in that department as far as his athleticism, his speed, and things like that. But there's something like, and I'm going to make a comparison here, and I'm not going to sit here and say that Joe Burrow and Tom Brady should be talked about from an aspect of career wins, potential number of Super Bowls that they're going to be able to claim, or any of that. But there is something that Brady and Burrow have in common right now. Think about Brady. We're talking about the GOAT. Capital G, capital O, capital A, capital T. The GOAT. It's not up for debate, and I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. It's not. Brady is going down as the GOAT until somebody unseats him, and that's all there is to it. But how many times have I heard, but Aaron Rodgers is so much better? Well, because he throws a prettier ball? Because he got a bigger arm? He doesn't have the wins? Ooh, he's got individual awards, MVPs. So what? Those individual awards are nice. Those individual awards, they'll get you into Canton. Sure. But last time I checked, Aaron Rodgers has a lot of individual awards, but he has one Super Bowl. Has he even appeared in more than one Super Bowl? I don't think he has. So, maybe he's been in one. One other, I mean. But my point being is that got a nice comment here. Burrow has moxie. Yes, he does. He's got that it. that it factor, that X factor, whatever you want to call it. He's got juice. And he's also got an extremely awesome, quiet sense of leadership, like where he doesn't have to yell, but when he talks, people listen. But he also listens. So he knows the give and take of leadership. But anyway, um, but all I ever hear is, you know, oh, Aaron Rodgers is so much better. Well, let's let him get 5 more Super Bowls and then we can talk. Then we can talk about how much better he is. But until then, Tom Brady never had the most athleticism. He wasn't the most athletic. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. He didn't have the biggest arm. But he's got the brain. And he's got the accuracy. And he's got the leadership. And he'll do whatever he needs to do to put his team in a position to win, as opposed to looking out for himself. He's built a brand. But of course, you can do that when you're winning 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Super Bowls. Weird how that works. It's weird how the winning on the field and the results and the lack of extra room in your trophy case allows you to build your brand. So maybe try putting that first. And so that's where I think Brady and Burrow do have a comparison, in the sense that Brady to this day gets talked about like, oh, well, yeah, but he's really good, but he's no Aaron Rodgers. Like, what kind of crack are you on? And the same kind of way they talk about that, I feel like we talk about, the national commenters talk about Burrow. And it's like, oh man, nobody can beat the Bills. They're talking about the Bills this year like they're already going. They might as well just pencil them in. They're in the Super Bowl. And they might get there. Don't get me wrong. They are a very, very good team. And they absolutely destroyed the Rams last night. I mean, they just mopped the floor with them. And I've already heard a few people in some of the local groups saying that, well, this just proves that the Rams didn't deserve to win the Super Bowl over us. And the only thing I'll say is I would, me personally, I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit. Only because the Rams team last year and that team that was wearing those uniforms that I saw last night looked like two different teams. It really did. That team last year had juice. They had energy, just like the Bengals did. That's why I was so scared. I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to see the Rams. I would have rather seen the Buccaneers. I would have rather seen the Green Bay Packers. Because those were two teams that I thought were definitely beatable. But when you get into these the potential matchups and stuff last year, the Rams were the one I really didn't want to see. Because I saw a similar level of juice. They had that slow burn build that didn't start off perfect, but then they just built and built and built and built. So, but I'm just, Josh Allen's a really good quarterback, and he's on a really good team. And Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback and potentially on a really good team. And Kyler Murray's, he's exciting to watch. Lamar Jackson, except for the fact that he's on the Ravens, and I don't like that team at all, he's an exciting quarterback to watch. But I feel like, a lot of these national commentators get so lost in flash and sizzle, and I just don't waste my time on that. I respect the ones that put in the time, put in the work, do it quietly, go out there and handle their business on Sundays, and but still have that killer instinct. I've seen it in Brady before. I've seen it in Manning, and I've seen it in Burrow, especially when he absolutely just they just laid the Ravens out last year. I mean, the second beating was worse than the first. And the Ravens are whining and crying. But I don't remember the Bengals whining and crying when the Ravens whooped us pretty bad 3 times prior. Burrow's rookie season, they absolutely spanked the crap out of us and just kept laying it on and adding on and adding on. Well, that's football. If you don't like it, stop it. Otherwise, sit down, shut up, and take your lickings. So um, I think if this year is a good year, and I very much suspect it will be, I I expect Burrow will start to get more of the talk that we want to hear as Bengals fans. But at the same time, doesn't hurt my feelings at all that they're disrespecting him, that they're overlooking him, that they're saying, "Oh, well, that was just a flash in the pan. That's just 1 year. It's Cincinnati, for Christ's sake. Cincinnati. I mean, they suck. Whatever. Let them talk because Burrow hears it, the team hears it, Taylor hears it. I mean, that's just fire. That's just fuel right on the fire. So, okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Got a few comments. Ah, yeah, Burrow has moxie. Yes, he does. In spades. All right, so okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to the last well, we'll call it the third of 4 sections. So I'm looking at the 2022 season and what sticks out to me. What am I looking forward to? What are areas or games where I'm kind of, that's going to be tough or that's going to be interesting or whatever. Um, I kind of alluded to this already. The media in general sleeping on the Bengals. Do I find it insulting? A little bit. But at the same time, personally, like I said, I think it's bulletin board material. It's fuel for the fire. But also, I hate to say this, and this is me trying to be at least moderately impartial, which is it's hard to take the homer hat off totally, but I try to take it off as much as I can when I need to. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't have a track record here in Cincinnati of deserving that unending praise and adulation and oh my gosh, the Bengals obviously they're gonna be. You might as well just pencil them in as AFC North winners. It's a crap division. AFC North is never a crap division. It is a tough division. I mean, diamonds are formed in this division. I don't expect this year to be a lot different in that overall regard. But if we do perform the way I think we can, if we do perform in a similar or better fashion than last year, there's only one way to be better than last year. Then nobody's going to be sleeping on the Bengals. Well, the commentators won't be, but I can tell you this year, you know who's not sleeping on the Bengals? The teams, the other 31 teams. I don't think we're going to find many teams that are going to be sleeping on the Bengals. I don't think there's going to be many teams that forgot about some guy named Jamar Chase. Who's this Chase guy? Jamar Chase? No. Nobody's going to be sleeping on Jamar Chase. Nobody's sleeping on T. Higgins. Nobody's sleeping on Joe Mixon. Nobody's sleeping on Joe Burrow. Some teams might be sleeping on this defense, but I doubt it. Because this defense is really good. And Lou Anarumo, for all of the grief that he's gotten, rightfully so, at times in the earlier first couple years, he's put together a hell of a defense. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be. I don't think any of the other 31 teams are going to be sleeping on the Bengals. The national pundits might. They might overlook it. Whatever, they can. And like I said, half their time is to say ridiculous stuff to get everybody worked up and mad at them. Whatever. It's called ratings, and their job is to get ratings no matter how they have to. And if they have to say the most asinine and dumb stuff ever, they will. As long as it keeps you plugged in and yelling at the screen and, I don't know, tweeting at them or whatever, they'll do it. But, so I've kind of highlighted here some of the interesting matchups to me. The ones that, I mean, all games are important. Every single one of them is important. But these are the ones that I think are kind of notable in my mind and I have my reasonings for that. Um, so, the most notable, I'm going to skip past this weekend for a reason. It's very notable. But I almost think every single division game is notable. There's no such thing as a division game in the AFC North that is not notable, that's not important. You can't overlook it. I don't know how many times I've seen the Bengals play the Browns, and either the Bengals were the worst team in the division or the Browns were the worst team in the division, and they go out and they rack up points, and I mean historic points for a game and all this stuff. I mean, it's every division game is an absolute slugfest. It's crazy, it's weird, and teams play differently. So, so I'm kind of avoiding those because I will talk about those in just a minute. But kind of like the non-division rival games that are interesting to me. Week 2 at Dallas. Oh man, how tired am I here of hearing about Dak Prescott and how amazing he is. Oh, give me a break on Dak Prescott talk. Good Lord, I mean, would we be talking about Dak Prescott if he had the same record, same stats? I mean, everything, just literally cut, paste, and let's move him to, I don't know, the Carolina Panthers. Would we talk about Dak Prescott? Would we be, would they, would they be salivating over him as much if he didn't have that Dallas star on his helmet? And Jerry Jones and Jerry World and Jerry Jones's weird podcast that he's the only owner in the NFL, in the entire league, that has his own radio show or podcast or whatever the hell it is. Would we be talking about Dak Prescott this way? On what, by what metric did he deserve the money he got, which at the time was either the highest or damn near the highest paid player in the league? What? Good Lord, what did he do to deserve that? Oh, because he had an amazing rookie season? Oh, well, did you notice that he was playing by I think a top 3 or top 5 line in the league? I'm not saying I can be that good of a quarterback behind that line because, quite frankly, I'm too short. I can't even see over the damn lineman. But a lot of competent quarterbacks can be really good behind an amazing O-line. When you don't have to worry about anybody hitting you the extraordinary majority of the time, oh, darn, I guess I'll just wait a little longer until somebody finally breaks coverage and gets open. Jeez. Yeah. Oh, the amazing Dak Prescott. So I think that's an interesting game, and also because my dad's a Dallas fan. Now, before y'all, get up in arms, my dad is born from the generation of when there was only I don't know, 3-4 teams that got on TV. Dallas is one of them. And, he lives in the Columbus, Ohio area. That's where I'm actually originally from, though I don't like to admit that very much. Dallas was a great team back then. So he's a Dallas fan. And I'll at least respect the fact that he stayed a Dallas fan. Even though the Browns and then eventually the Bengals were much closer. But I think that's going to be an interesting matchup because that's going to be a big. I don't even remember what the the time of that game is. I don't know if it's a primetime game or even a 4:00 game. It might be a 4:00 game. I have to let's see, Bengals schedule. There we go. Let's see. Let's see here. Cowboys. Oh, it is a 4:25, so that's going to be a fairly visible game. It's not quite the same as prime time, but it is going to be a very visible game. And if the Bengals can go in there and absolutely just run over the Dallas Cowboys, because their O-line is pretty bad this year. So I'm thinking the defense might get a good, they might get to eat good that day. That might be one of those things that causes some of these Bengals haters or people who just don't want to buy the hype or whatever, insert term here. That might get them to perk up a little bit. Um, so another game that I think sticks out to me is the Dolphins, Week 4, which is let's see here. Ooh, that's a primetime game. That's going to be real good because I don't hate Tua Tagovailoa, but I don't he I, I I haven't seen anything yet out of him that tells me he's got juice, he's got something special. I mean, a special quarterback can be on a bad team and still look pretty special. Just you got a bad coach, you got not a good O line, you got bad defense, something, But you usually tell individual players they look like they've got something to them, they got something special. I could be wrong. Tua might have something special. And maybe that's what he needed. Maybe he needed an offensive minded head coach, which he did not have before. Brian Florence was a defensive guy. At least I think he was. I think he was a defensive coach. So maybe he needed a change of pace, whether it was that or not. But everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got blah, 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 blah. Well, what they've done down there, my perception with the Dolphins, is they have decided to remove all excuses for Tua. Because Tua's coming up. This is his third year. Yeah, he's drafted the same year as Burrow. This is his third year. And generally, as a quarterback, by year 3, you got to show something. You got to show you got something in there, something that's worth keeping you for. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at drafting again. And you got a new regime. New regimes don't hold on to previous regime quarterbacks unless there's something. So, I think that'll be an interesting game. Seeing them against Tua and the Dolphins. Cheers. Next game that sticks out to me. Week 9. The Panthers. Quarterbacked by Baker Mayfield. Now, it's a 1 o'clock game. That's fine with me. Doesn't bother me. But I do think it's interesting that we are going to be playing Baker again. And I have a little note here. Is this possibly a revenge against Baker type game for Joe? Because Baker, even when the Browns weren't that good, I should say they weren't. I'm not talking about potential. I'm talking about they actively weren't amazing. But they would come and Baker would play the Bengals and he would just level up. So I wonder if Joe has maybe got this one quietly penciled in as, yeah, I'm gonna put you in your place. Last year, you got us the first time, and then of course the second time didn't even play. Although I thought it was interesting. Well, of course Baker didn't play either. But I wonder if this is something Burrow's got slightly penciled in, and I almost imagine Baker's definitely got it penciled in because Baker is a super petty guy. I mean, he is super petty. He's super sensitive. He remembers. He's like, he doesn't forget a thing. So I think this could be one of those type of games that Baker, might have penciled in, and I wonder if Joe does too. Weeks 11 and 12, Titans and Chiefs in that order. Playoff rematches both. What kind of time frames we got on those? We got one against, it's a 1 p.m. for the Titans. We're at Titans. Chiefs are here 4:25. I like that. So that's kind of playoff rematching a little bit and maybe kind of helping to show that yep, we do belong here. Yep. That wasn't a fluke. Last year wasn't a fluke. Week 14, Tampa going against the GOAT. Burrow versus Brady. It's hard not to see when you look at quarterback types, stereotypes, or however you want to rank types of quarterbacks, it's hard not to see some of the things that Brady does and is in Burrow, although I do think Burrow has some Manning in him too, as far as his style. Um, but that should be an interesting game. I don't know where Tampa's going to be by week 14 because they've got some questions on their O-line. Apparently, they've lost their center and guard, I believe. So that's not good. I don't know if they've lost them for the whole season or just for a certain amount of games, like eligible to return off the injured list. But I think that's going to be a really interesting game watching Burrow and Brady play against each other on the same field. And is that here or there? That is there at Tampa Bay, 425. We're getting a lot of, believe it or not, we're really getting a lot of good games that have a lot of good visibility. We're getting, I mean, I think we got the max amount currently of Monday night games and Sunday night games and Thursday night games and stuff like that. But then we've got some 425s, and those are higher visibility as well. Then the most notable non-division game we're going to play is, of course, near the end, week 16 against the Bills. And that is, man, that feels like, to me, based on how I feel about the team now and also how I feel about the Bills after watching them last night, that feels like it could be a preview of a playoff matchup, maybe an AFC championship matchup, but a playoff matchup regardless. Kind of how the way that works out with us and the Chiefs this past year. So, so that's going to be an interesting game. Look, I respect Josh Allen and the Bills. Look, they have put together a hell of a team up there. They really have. They're not a perfect team. No team is. No team has no issues. Every team has a wart here or a weakness there or whatever it is. But that is a hell of a team. And quite frankly, a lot of people would say, "Oh man, I don't want to play the Bills. That's a scary game." I'm not scared of it. That doesn't mean I think we're automatically going to win, like just blindly think that. But I'm looking forward to it, and that is the Joe Burrow effect. Last year, I felt that. As the season got on, he got hit more, he got better. And I felt like, yeah, we're up for this. Whether we win or lose, we are up for this. Being scared of other teams, being scared of facing other teams, that is how I felt during the Marvin Lewis and the Andy Dalton years and the later Carson Palmer years. To hell with that. I am done being scared of my team going up against other really, really good top-tier elite teams, because if you can beat the rest, if you can beat the best, well, then you're going to be the best. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I say, bring it on. Let's go. Go toe-to-toe, and let's find out which one's better. And if the Bengals aren't the better one that day, I know they're going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to learn from it, and they're going to fix it, because if there's one thing I've watched, Zach Taylor and his staff, they learn. They adapt. When they make mistakes, they generally don't make it again, or at least not in the same way. I have watched a staff that really, really tries very hard to learn from what they did wrong and try to patch that puppy up or fix it up or flip it all the way around so that they can do it better next time or do it differently. So going into the AFC North portion of this, here's what, we've got the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. And here's where I stand on them. Ravens. When it comes down to who I think is going to win the AFC North, I do think the Bengals are going to win. I'm trying to be as objective as possible saying that, but I do legitimately think that the Bengals are the most likely team to win the AFC North. They have the least weaknesses and they have the most strengths, as far as I can see it. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing, or maybe there's something that develops later this year. I have no idea. But as of right now, on paper, knowing what I know about this team from last year and not trying to take this team and just cut and paste from last year because that's not how it works. Um, but the Ravens are the other team that I think could be competing for the conference title or the division title. Sorry, I think it comes down to the Ravens and the Bengals to get the division title, and I think the Bengals get the edge, but I think the Ravens are not going to take this laying down. I think they're going to give us the most push. But here's my thing: the Ravens, they are lacking in skill players on the outside, at least as of right now. Could someone develop and become that skill player? Sure, happens all the time. But right now, they don't have a lot of skill players on the outside. They've got a tight end, they've got a good running back, I think maybe one wide receiver, something like that. The other thing, Jackson didn't get paid. He wanted big money. I don't know how big. I don't know if he wanted to be the highest paid, but I think he wanted to be up there with the highest paid. So is he going to be disgruntled? Is he going to be grumpy about it? Is he going to be kind of maybe playing conservatively out there to save his body? Is he going to be throwing it away on fourth down or on third down a little bit more? Is he going to be sliding a little more or stepping out of bounds a little early because he wants to make sure he saves himself? Because he's technically, I think he's on the last year of his deal, something like that. And then he probably knows that they're going to do the whole franchise tag game and all this other crap. So is he going to be short selling the team a little bit to protect his own bacon? Don't know. I do still think they're a formidable team, and they should not be overlooked for even a second. Now, technically, none of these teams should. Whether we think they're a joke or not doesn't matter. Do not overlook any of these teams ever. Peyton Manning was just on with Colin Cowherd on his The Volume podcast. He did an interview with him, and Peyton Manning said something that made sense to me. There's 3 different types of game speeds in the NFL. There's regular season games, there's division games, and then there's playoff games. And no matter where it's at in the regular season, division games are always faster than regular season games. And then, of course, playoff games are real fast. So that's why you always get these coming weird. Sometimes you're going up against one of your division opponents, and they're a terrible team, and then all of a sudden they're playing lights out. So what the hell's going on? Crazy stuff happens in division, especially. I think I got a neighbor's dog outside or something right now. But crazy things happen in division. Browns. Let's move on to them. I don't like the Browns this year. Not that I ever like them, but I'm saying as far as liking them for being a big challenge near the end of the season for the division crown. Too much drama. Oh my gosh. All I ever hear about is Watson and then of course the Baker talk and whether they're going to trade him or is he just going to stay home and stay disgruntled and whatever else, right? A lot of drama. And the Watson stuff, and man, like it's almost like right after they got the trade done with him, it just got worse and worse and worse. And more people came out accusing him of enjoying his massages a little too much, looking for the special menu with the masseuse and things like that, right? The other thing is Watson's not going to start until week 12 at the earliest. And Jacoby Brissett, is it Jacoby Brissett? I think he's the. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett. Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, he's a decent quarterback, average, maybe even above average at times, but I don't know that he's got the juice to do what needs to be done. I don't know that he's going to take them to the promised land all by himself and all of a sudden become a quarterback he's never been up to this point. He's been a. I mean, look, if the Bengals said, "Hey, we signed Jacoby Brissett as our backup," I'm like, "Oh, good, great, awesome." Nothing against Brandon Allen. I don't actually dislike Brandon Allen, but I wouldn't mind having. And I say I don't dislike Brandon Allen because Burrow loves Brandon Allen. He loves what Brandon Allen can offer to him in his ear, in the quarterback's room, watching film. He loves what Brandon Allen offers him. Brandon Allen might be one of those guys that ends up into coaching. Okay, some quarterbacks who were never that great physically can coach really, really well. They can see it, they just can't do it. But if we said that, oh, Jacoby Brissett's the new backup for the Bengals, like, oh, good. I mean, he's decent, but how good is your backup quarterback ever, really? If you have a backup quarterback better than your starter, then it should only be a matter of a couple games, or what are you doing? What are you even doing? The other thing about the Browns that kind of got moved over or passed over. The offensive talent isn't quite the same as last year. Jarvis Landry, I think, is gone, if I remember correctly. I didn't see his name listed last time I looked on their roster. And I know they've got Amari Cooper, although Amari Cooper might be getting a little long in the tooth, not sure. The other thing is that Kareem Hunt wanted a trade and didn't get it. More drama. Drama is usually about the worst thing you can have on a team, especially if you got this one person that's got a little drama, Jesse Bates. But then Jesse goes, you know what? Okay, I played my bluff as long as I'm going to. I'm not going to turn my nose up at $13 million. I want to play with my boys. I'm going to play this season. I'm going to earn my next contract. Let's go. Okay, that drama is now over. The Browns have a lot of drama going into the season, and it's probably going to continue throughout the season. How hard is Kareem Hunt going to run for the Browns when he wanted to get traded and they won't trade him? Is he even going to get on the damn field? And if he's not on the field and he's not getting to play, which means he's not getting to show his abilities and his skills and basically interview for another, a starting job at another team next year in the offseason, well, then now you've got a festering cancer in the corner, a locker room cancer. That's also bad. So let's get down to the last one. The Steelers. So here's the first thing that we should try to keep in mind. Big Ben is gone. Good, bad, or otherwise, Big Ben is gone. This team will look different this year. Make no mistake about that. This is not the same old Steelers. I'm not saying their entire approach to football has changed. I'm not saying that they have just lost their minds and, whatever. But he's gone. His style of play is now gone. He also can't be there and say, nope, I don't care what you want to do. This is what we're going to do. He can't do that. He's gone. So, Trubisky and eventually Kenny Pickett could definitely offer things to them in their offensive repertoire that we haven't seen before from the Steelers. A mobile aspect. I don't know that either one of them have the big arm that Ben had, and they definitely don't have the size that Ben had. The ability to just soak up hits from linebackers and defensive ends like it was nothing and shrug them off and still throw a 40-yard bomb, which I'm so glad I don't have to watch that shit happen anymore. All due respect to Ben, I'm happy he's home. Except actually, me and my buddy Dave, we were talking about, no, sign him up for 5 more years. He's good for it. Trust me. Trust us. He's good for it. We watch the games. He's great. Yeah, keep him around for 5 more years. Just keep wheeling him out there like fucking Weekend at Bernie's. So, the other thing about the Steelers this year that they have to deal with is their D is legit good, just like ours is. But their O-line looks like it could be pretty bad. Maybe one of the worst ones they've had in a long time. Good. Yes. I want to see that. I want their O-line to be bad. I want to watch DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Trey Hendrickson, Osai, Logan Wilson, Sam Hubbard, Jermaine Pratt. And let's get into hell. Let's throw safeties into it. Let's get them in the mix. I want to see Bell, Hilton, Hill, Von Bell, Bates. I want to see them all get a chance to run through the turnstile and go sack somebody. Either take down the running back in the backfield or take down Trubisky or Pickett, whoever it is. I want to see just Swiss cheese in Steelers uniforms. That would be just beautiful. Just poetic. I mean, songs might be written about it. I don't know about that. But you know what I'm saying? I want to see like a terrible O-line. Just come on. Just once. Let me see that. I do not think, though, after all that being said, Tomlin is an amazing motivator. Much as I can, I can pick on his style at the podium and all this other stuff. Tomlin's an amazing motivator, and he will absolutely use bulletin board material. No problem for him. He will do it. No problem. So, you still cannot sleep on the Steelers, no matter how bad they may be. And as much as I want to see the return of the Tommy Maddox type of years, I don't know if we're there yet. Trubisky's going to have to be extremely average or worse. Kenny Pickett is going to have to be a major bust for us to have even a couple years of bad Steelers teams. The dark years for them. I don't know that we're going to see that. I think Kenny Pickett is probably going to be at least decent. Is he going to be amazing? Is he going to change the league? I don't know about that. I don't know enough about him to say. I haven't seen him play. I don't follow a lot of college football, but I get the impression there's a lot of people who are very split on Pickett. And then Trubisky he's fine. He's an okay, he's a bridge quarterback at this point in his career, probably. So let's get into those week 1 predictions. This is the part where I stick it out there and hope I don't get it cut off. Week 1 predictions. I believe this will be a tough game. I think it'll be typical of our division matchups with the Steelers. I don't perceive this to be a pretty game, or I don't know. I don't know that I think that the Bengals will pull some kind of 525 yards and 6 touchdowns like they did against the Ravens. The Steelers are just not that kind of team, and quite frankly, their defense is still really good. Now, the only potential for that is if we can wear down their defense and keep them out there on the field and they just get tired. And when you get tired, you just don't play as good. Wear them down. But I don't believe that'll happen. I believe this will be a tough game. I believe there will be plenty of scrappiness. And, I don't know if anybody's going to get, I hope nobody gets ejected. I don't like it when I see that, especially when it's ticky-tacky. Every now and then these refs, they'll eject a couple players, and it's like, that's bogus. It barely did anything real. I'm not a huge hockey fan, although I am starting to watch it a little more. This is nothing. Come on, give me a break. Question I have is, will rust and lack of time together play a factor for the O-lines? as in plural, as in both O-lines. The Steelers' O-line is not projected to be very good. They've got injuries. They've lost some good talent there, and don't know really what they've got outside of that. On our side, on the Bengals side, I do wonder about our O-line. I do wonder, will the lack of time together take a little bit to get that gel going? I mean, sure, they've been practicing for about 2.5, 3 weeks in practices and stuff like that, but that's not the same as game speed. That's not the same as playing together in a game. I do think that Ted Karras being voted on as a captain is huge. That says something to me. And apparently he is a hell of a leader. And you need your center to be a hell of a leader. So I'm hoping that really does come out with something valuable there, that he can help kind of marshal the line and get everybody in their places and all that stuff. It will be interesting to see how Tomlin plans to utilize a more mobile quarterback. Trubisky is more mobile than Ben really ever was. I mean, Ben was a big guy who could take hits and move around in the pocket and extend plays, but I don't know what I'd call him athletic. I mean, Ben's off-season conditioning plan tended to be at the barbecue with a keg. He wasn't exactly on the TB12 plan, okay? So how's Tomlin planning on trying to utilize a mobile QB, or Matt Canada, their offensive coordinator? Another little thing, we have a little Mother Nature to potentially deal with. We got like 70% chance of scattered thunderstorms. So how much is weather going to factor in? Is that going to force us into a run game heavy, run-centric offense, which is fine. Last time we did that, we spanked them pretty good. That was nice. And that leads into, can we establish the run and get Mixon to take over like we did last time? Again, I'm fine with that. And Joe is too. According to Joe, based on his interview with McAfee, he's fine with that too. If it's throw 100 yards or 150 yards, no touchdowns, don't turn it over, and just keep handing it off to Mixon and letting him eat, and maybe even Chris Evans gets in the mix, because Chris Evans did look pretty good over in the preseason. He looks pretty exciting. Then okay, fine, great. So what's my prediction for our Week 1 matchup this Sunday against the Steelers, which is, my understanding is our first home opener against the Steelers in ever? At least a long time, right? Someone was talking about it. Someone was saying ever, and I'm like, is that ever? Really? Have we never opened up with the Steelers at home? So taking everything I said into account. Now, I know Vegas has the Bengals as I think a touchdown over. They're giving them a touchdown over the Steelers. And believe me, I will be absolutely thrilled beyond belief if that's the case. I'm calling it a 24-21 Bengals win, because I feel like this game will be ugly. It'll be rough. It'll be just that typical Steelers-Bengals AFC North style, just, I hate the word smash mouth, but it will be. It's going to be a grinding type of game. I don't perceive there's going to be a lot of finesse or high-flying explosive offense in this game, but I'll be thrilled to be wrong. So we'll see. Okay, that's going to about do it for today for me. I'm going to get back to enjoying the rest of my weekend. I hope you all do too. Looking forward to Sunday. I will probably post a pretty short video. I don't know that I'll live stream after the game on Sunday or on Monday night, but I will post a video. I'll record a video and post it for sure. I don't know if I'll live stream. If I do, I'll schedule it. But I am really looking forward to this season. I think the Bengals have a chance to get back to the playoffs. I think we can get back to the Super Bowl. Maybe I'm drinking Kool-Aid. Don't know. Right now I was drinking tequila, but that's all gone now, so say what you will about that. Um, but I'm looking forward to the season, and I'm looking forward to doing more live streams, whether they be Bengals related like this, or pop culture, or eventually I'll get into. I'll probably have some things I want to talk about from a parenting perspective, lessons I've learned or whatever. But those ones are difficult because they have to strike me at the right time, and I gotta like the juice has to be present on those. But I'm enjoying doing this. Hopefully, I fixed a lot of the issues from the previous one, especially the audio issues. That echo was annoying. Thankfully, it didn't last forever, but it was annoying as heck. So probably over the weekend here, I'm going to split up these videos into some smaller chunks. I'll repost those on the YouTube channel. Of course, these are also going to be found on the Way of the Dad podcast Rumble channel. Rumble takes about a day longer because it's, I guess they're kind of synced up to each other, but it has to be on YouTube first, and then Rumble will eventually recognize it and pull it over. So YouTube and Rumble are probably the most primary places I'm going to be putting myself right now. Eventually, I will get the audios of last stream and this stream up on just podcasting, just audio podcast, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who tuned in. I appreciate everybody who listens after the fact and wants to leave a comment. Please leave a comment. I will get back to you, especially if it's not, spam. Click here to, for the Nigerian prince's $10 million that he doesn't know how to get rid of or something like that. I'm probably not going to respond to that one. But if I could ask one thing, please like and share and subscribe to this channel. And then like the videos and share them if you can, if you feel so inclined. I'd appreciate it very much. I'm trying to grow this channel. I'm trying to grow what I'm doing here. I'd love to spend more time doing what I'm doing here, and maybe getting, I want to, right now I'm doing green screen out of necessity, and I don't mind the green screen. The green screen's fine, but I would like to have a finished setting behind me, and that's what I'm working towards right now. I'm trying to work on that, and I definitely got to get this place insulated before winter comes, because it will get quite chilly in here, and the heater is kind of loud, so I don't want to run that in the background. But yeah, anything you can do. I'm not even asking you to throw $1 in the tip jar right now, because technically I can't have a tip. I can't do super chats yet. I'm not monetized on YouTube. I might set up a Patreon, or a Subscribe Star, or Parallel, whatever the hell's out there. I don't know. I might do something like that if anybody wants to donate. And I'm thinking about, I want to get a hat made, and see how that goes. Because if I like it, maybe I'll do a little merchandise or something like that. I don't know. But for right now, I just want to keep streaming. And any feedback you can give, likes, or comments, things like that, very much appreciated. All helps this grow. So until next time, Who-Dey, and take care and have a great day.